Today's video is about review for arithmetic sequence and a series. For example, this is a sequence. U sub n is a general form. We call U sub n minus 1 as a previous term. This will be next term. For the arithmetic sequence, here is the rule. Any term minus the previous term will be equals to a constant. So you can write down this equals a constant. We call this is a D, common difference. How did you get this formula? You think about this is U sub 1. You add D to get U sub 2. So you will add another D to get U sub 3. Another D to get U sub 4. So how you get U sub n? You need to add n minus 1 times D. Then add U sub 1. That will be the formula for U sub n. For the sum of n terms of an arithmetic sequence will be this formula. If you are given the first term and also the D and N, you got to use this formula. When you are given the first term and also the nth term, then you got to use this formula. Now let's go to 1a. Consider the arithmetic sequence. This is the arithmetic sequence. Find the value of a common difference of this sequence. We know that D equals. You can use U sub 2 minus U sub 1. That is 321 minus 326. That is negative 5. Or you can use this. Say you keep minus 5 to get the next term. That's the reason negative 5 will be arithmetic sequence. Let's go to 1b. Calculate the sum of the first 10 terms of this sequence. Since we are given n, that's 10, and U sub 1 and also D, so we got to use this formula. You will get the S sub 10, which means for this formula, every single n you need to change into 10. So you get the 10 over 2. 2 times U sub 1, that is 326, plus 10 minus 1. D, that is negative 5. Then equals. Answer will be this. Now let's go to 1c. Find the number of terms in this sequence, which means we already know U sub n equals 191. Then you need to find n. To use this formula, U sub n equals U sub 1 plus n minus 1 times D. We already know U sub 1 equals 191 equals 326 plus n is our variable times D will be negative 5. You can use equation solver if you want to, or you can do the distributive property and solve this algebraically. It's really up to you. I will solve algebraically to show you. Since this is a linear equation, I will isolate the variable on one side. So I will move these two to the other side. You will get the negative 326 minus 5 plus 191 equals negative 5n. So you get the negative 5n equals. Then you divide it by negative 5 both sides. N equals 28. Now let's go to number 2. The first term of an arithmetic sequence is 3, and the seventh term is 33. Calculate the common difference. First term, we can write down u sub 1 equals 3. U sub 7 equals 33. According to this formula, u sub 7, change every single n into 7. You will get the u sub 1 plus 7 minus 1 times d. So we plug in 33 equals 3 plus 6 times d. Subtract 3 both sides. Then you divide it by 6. You will get the 5. For this formula, you have to know that when n equals 7, which means every single n you need to change into 7. Now let's go to 2b. Calculate the 95th term of the sequence, which means we are looking for u sub 95. For this formula, every single n you need to change into 95. So you get the u sub 1 plus 95 minus 1 times d is 5, which means 3 plus 94 times 5 equals 473. Look at the 2c. Calculate the sum of the first 250 terms, which means s sub 250. We still use the first formula. So every single n you need to change into 250. That will be 250 over 2 times 2 times u sub 1, that's 3, plus 250 minus 1 times 5 equals 156,375. Go to 4a. The number of apartments in a housing development has been increasing by a constant amount every year. At the end of the first year, the number of apartments was 150, and at the end of 6th year, the number of apartments was 600. The number of apartments Y can be determined by this equation, where t is the time in years. Find the value of m. According to this given information, the number of apartments has been increasing by a constant amount every year, which means this is a arithmetic sequence because it's increasing by a constant amount. So you will get u sub 1 equals 150, while u sub 6 equals 600. And for arithmetic sequence, we can write down in a linear equation form like this. So what's the relationship between this formula and this linear function. Let's compare these two. We have y equals mx plus b. For u sub n equals u sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. Let's do the distributive property here. You will get u sub 1 plus n times d minus d. Look at the variable. Here's n. This n is a variable. I want to write in this way. So you will get the d times n, because n is a variable, plus u sub 1 minus d. Therefore, compare these two forms. You could say m equals d, and b equals u sub 1 minus d. For m equals d, we know slope equals the common difference. U sub 1 minus d. We know u sub 1, here's u sub 2. Before u sub 1, we can write down u sub 0. So we keep adding d to get the next term. U sub 0 plus d equals u sub 1. So that u sub 0 equals u sub 1 minus d. In other words, this b equals u sub 0, 0 term in the arithmetic sequence. For the linear function for this b, we call the y-intercept or initial value. Now we can find the value of m. Basically, we are looking for the value of d. So we use this formula. U sub n equals u sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. U sub n, we use u sub 6. Every single n you need to change into 6. So we will write down that it's 6 minus 1 times d. Then we plug in 600 equals 150 plus 5 times d. Then subtract 150 both sides. You get the 450 equals 5d. Divided by 5, d equals 90. Therefore, this m equals 90. Look at the 4b. State m represents in this context. You cannot say this is a common difference. You have to say what does this m represent in this problem. We know this m is a slope. So when you write down the meaning for slope, use this pattern. How many blank increase or decrease per blank? For this problem, we could say 90 apartments increase per year. For the 4b, don't say m represents the common difference. In this context, which means what does this mean in this problem? For say, find the value of n. This n is a y-intercept. For the y-intercept, we know that equals u sub 0, which means u sub 1 minus d. Therefore, for this n, you can do 150 minus 90, that equals 60. State n represents in this context. for y-intercept means initial value. Therefore, you could say initial number of apartments is 60.